Hello, this is Ken Ferrie with this week's Boots in the Field report. We have a few areas that have started the corn harvest, especially where early corn premiums are available. Talking with growers from southwest to Springfield in that April planted early corn, running 210 on the dry land, irrigated 240, moistures in that 22-24% range. Reports from southeast Springfield in the 240-250 range, coming in at 23-27%. Yields in the Tazewell County area so far reported in that 2 to 235 range, 22 to 28%. And they're saying wild swings in one pass across that field. Going over to where Matt is, over on the west side near the river. Again, looking at yields in the 190-220 range, in that 22%, and Matt says they're 30 to 60 bushel off of last year. And fields with wind damage are in that 130 range, moisture 17-18% in the dead corn. Yield checking these fields, it looks like the divide number will end up being 80 to 85 kernels per bushel. And so far growers are a little disappointed, I guess expecting 30 to 40 bushel better. But as we watch the tops come out of this corn due to the heat and top kill, you had to figure your divide number was going to go up, especially in those D hybrids. The ear counts are a little rougher in our April planted corn, along with premature top kill, holding some of these yields back. I do expect yields to climb as we move into more of the May planted corn, again due to the better ear counts. Many growers have expressed that they plan to let this crop dry in the field, especially if they're looking at a crop insurance claim. My only advice would be to keep scouting, keep doing the push test. Many fields do pass the push test right now, but due to the amount of stalk cannibalization that happened between the drought and the top kill, many of these plants have just flat run out on empty. They have piffed the stalk all the way to the crown, which will allow stalk rots to trash this plant. All combine operators, watch your harvest loss close this year. You need to check every field and every hybrid change that you have within the field. Due to wide swings in plant health across the field, stop in the light and the heavy soil and check for that loss. With lighter tip kernels, be careful that we don't blow it out the back. Some rubbery cobs will make it harder to get off the cob. Now, many fields have some second ears on that have some grain on them. The problem is that ear aborted, and now you have a very rubbery cob. If we can get these kernels in the tank, it'll help, but they are going to be tough to get off those aborted cobs out there. Let's watch this close. They don't count volunteer corn as a cover crop when the field turns green in the fall, so stay on top of it. Janine and I took a little loop into southeast Iowa at the end of last week to get into the fields with our growers up there. We went through Burlington, Washington, Iowa, on up to Rhinebeck and back, traveling through that D2, D3 area of the drought map. Much of this corn has been done for 3 weeks, ears hanging down, but we saw no commercial corn being harvested in this trip, only one bean field coming out. Now I have to stay with our customers that we met with. While the crop is not what the growers wanted up there, it's about 20 or 30 bushel better than I expect it would be. Most of the fields, when we divide by 80, we're 20 to 30 bushel off of last year. There too, May planted corn is checking stronger than our April planted corn. The bean crop shows weather stress, especially in the pods. It shows a number of 1 and 2 bean pods, but the pod count is high, and I do expect we'll see some pretty good beans there if we can just get the bean size up. Most fields had tar spot in them. The worst was in the Burlington area. These fields were sprayed with a fungicide, of course. It is run out by now. I don't think it'll be a yield issue, but it may become a standability issue. We spent some time in the hybrid flex plot at Faith Farms in Washington, Iowa. Daryl and his crew have a fantastic learning plot. In those flex plots, we plant hybrids at 36,000 and 22,000 to see how they respond to population stress. Now we know as population goes up, ear size goes down, and these plots help us identify where and how the ear size reduction takes place. Along with ear flex, we get a good look at plant height and leaf characteristics. The goal of pushing up the population is to stress that plant and see how it responds. Now the crew at Faith Farms are overachievers, so along with stress from population, they only had 6 inches of rain on this plot so far this growing season. With that much drought stress added to the population stress, this plot is really popping. When you can look right and see a hybrid at 36,000 and then look left and see it at 22,000, the story's pretty clear. Population plays a big role in water management along with plant height and leaf structure. The pendulum leaf structured and taller hybrids at lower populations looks like it's had another 5 inches of rain. I'll have Zach post a picture of a tall pendulum hybrid at 22,000 from this plot. Look at the plant health and the sunlight capture this hybrid has on only 6 inches of rain. Now, the main goal for Faith Farms doing this plot is to find defensive hybrids that they can use in their multi-hybrid planter. Offensive hybrids are a dime a dozen, but defensive ones are hard to find, and they don't seem to stick around long because they can't keep up with the racehorse hybrids most years, so they get cut from the lineup. I do believe about half the entries in this plot at 22,000 will yield with or more than the same hybrid at 36. As this plot shows, I think we'll see taller pendulum hybrids win this year, just like they did in 2012. Daryl and his crew have a lot of time invested in this plot, but I see some big payoffs for him. One of the most valuable plots farmers can put in is a hybrid plot on their land with their practices. Which reminds me, for those of you that have fixed flex plots out there, don't forget to keep us abreast as it dries down so we can get the ears collected for the hand harvest later this year. We've had a lot of growers asking and concerned about herbicide carryover for next year with the dry June. This year, following what we saw from last year's carryover with the dry June we had a year ago. That dry June is a concern. Most herbicides didn't get enough breakdown during their first half-life of the chemical, meaning that some of these programs that have a 10-month cropping restriction could be a problem. We don't have a lot of options short of changing the crop rotation, and of course doing some March grow-outs inside to predict potential damage. Now, I hate to say this, but one thing I can tell you from visiting carryover calls this spring is we had a lot less issues in the fields that were worked. Non-GMO fields especially, with a later herbicide post program, they fared better if they were tilled in the fall. Now, I assume chisel plowing in the fall and harrowing it in the spring is diluting that herbicide into the profile as well as helping it degrade. Most fields that got dinged from the carryover this spring did come out of it, but it'll be hard to figure out how much the yield got tapped. I hate to see a lot of no-till fields get chiseled, but something to think about if you're in a dry area and you're concerned about carryover with your 10-month cropping restriction herbicides. The plot crew is gearing up for harvest as they get the scale carts and everything ready to go. Don't forget to give us as much lead time as possible for scheduling your harvest of your plot. Soil testing crews are on standby, ready to clean up your fields as you knock them out, so don't forget to call them in as well. To stay up to date, check out our website at croptechinc.com and subscribe to our podcast, Boots in the Field Report. Keep her safe, keep her moving.